Life is full of lessons, often wrapped in moments of unexpected humility and grace. Today, I'll share a story about one such moment, a tale of respect and redemption that changed lives, businesses, and hearts. But first, let me ask you this. Have you ever been judged unfairly, only to prove the doubters wrong in a way they never saw coming? If you resonate with this, take a moment to subscribe to this channel and join our community of seekers and learners. Together, we explore the beauty of human resilience, the power of kindness, and the wisdom hidden in life's challenges. And before we begin, leave a comment below with your own affirmation, like, "I lead with respect and inspire through kindness." Let's turn this into a space of positivity and growth for everyone. Now, let's dive into the story of Oliver Grant, a man who faced ridicule but left a legacy of respect and integrity that would ripple through generations. The sharp winter air bit at Oliver Grant's cheeks as he stepped into the luxury car dealership on Michigan Avenue, Chicago. He adjusted his woolen scarf, the one his late wife had knit for him decades ago, and pushed open the glass doors. Oliver wasn't dressed like the clientele they usually catered to. His faded navy overcoat, scuffed shoes, and well-worn gloves didn't exactly scream wealth. The showroom was a spectacle of opulent, sleek vehicles lined in perfect symmetry, their polished surfaces gleaming under artfully placed lights. Salespeople, dressed in tailored suits, glided around the room like dancers in a performance. Oliver noticed their polished smiles fading into raised eyebrows as they caught sight of him. One particularly self-assured young man, Brad, gave a subtle smirk and whispered to his colleague, "We've got a window shopper." The quiet snickers that followed were not lost on Oliver. He wasn't here to impress anyone, but the blatant dismissal stung. Oliver meandered through the showroom, running his fingers lightly over the glossy hood of a crimson convertible. His eyes sparkled with curiosity, though he said little. He knew he didn't fit the image of their average customer, but that wasn't his concern. Amid the sea of condescension, one voice cut through. "Good afternoon, sir. Is there anything I can help you with?" It was Emma Caldwell, a young woman with a genuine smile and warm brown eyes. Her tone carried no judgment, just a sincere offer to assist. She stood apart from the rest, not just in her approach, but in her authenticity. Oliver returned her smile, tipping his hat slightly. "I'm just having a look, but I appreciate your kindness, young lady." Emma stayed close, answering his questions with patience and enthusiasm. She didn't pry about his finances or question his intentions. Instead, she focused on making him feel welcome. As their conversation unfolded, Oliver revealed a glimpse of his past. "You know," he said, "I built my first business with just 2 hands and a heart full of grit. People laughed at me then too, said I wouldn't make it. Funny how life works." Emma sensed the depth in his words, but she didn't push for more. Instead, she responded with something that stayed with him. "It's not about where you start, it's about where you're headed." Meanwhile, Brad and his colleagues continued their quiet mockery from a distance. To them, Oliver was just another time waster, someone who didn't belong in their world of high-ticket sales. But Emma saw more, a man with a story worth respecting. Oliver eventually thanked Emma and left the showroom, his footsteps fading into the Chicago hustle outside. Brad chuckled, nudging another salesman. "There goes our big spender." Little did they know, Oliver Grant wasn't just anyone. He was a man with purpose and more means than they could fathom. That evening, Oliver sat in his modest study, sipping tea and reflecting on the day's events. He had come face to face with 2 versions of humanity, one shallow and dismissive, the other compassionate and understanding. Emma's kindness lingered in his mind, like the faint glow of a candle in the dark. The next day, something extraordinary happened. Oliver walked back into the dealership, not in his overcoat, but accompanied by a team of lawyers and business associates. The staff watched in stunned silence as the humble man from yesterday made his intentions clear. "I'd like to purchase this dealership," Oliver announced. His voice was steady but carried an undertone of determination. Brad nearly choked on his coffee. "You what?" he stammered. Oliver smiled, his eyes unwavering. "Yes, you heard me correctly. I'll be meeting with the owner shortly to finalize the terms." It didn't take long for the deal to close. By the end of the week, Oliver Grant owned the luxury car dealership that had so casually dismissed him. But his reasons weren't rooted in revenge. He wasn't there to humiliate anyone, though some undoubtedly felt the sting of their earlier judgments. Oliver had a bigger vision: to transform the dealership into a place where respect wasn't tied to appearances, but to character. Emma was the first person he called into his new office. She hesitated at the doorway, unsure of what to expect. "Mr. Grant, you wanted to see me?" Oliver gestured for her to sit. "Emma, you're the kind of person this world needs more of. I noticed your sincerity yesterday, and it didn't go unnoticed. How would you feel about stepping into a leadership role here?" Emma's eyes widened in disbelief. "Me? A leadership role?" "Yes, you," Oliver said firmly. "Your actions embody the values this place will stand for: integrity, kindness, and respect." As Emma accepted the offer, Oliver began laying the foundation for a cultural shift within the dealership. He didn't just want to sell cars. He wanted to sell an experience built on trust and mutual respect. It wouldn't be easy, change never is, but Oliver Grant was no stranger to uphill battles. His journey had begun not in this showroom, but decades ago, in a small town with nothing but determination to guide him. Now he had a chance to shape something greater, a legacy that would outlast even the shiniest of cars. Oliver's story doesn't end here. His decision to purchase the dealership was only the beginning of a profound transformation. How would he reshape its culture, and what challenges would arise along the way? Join me in the next chapter, where we'll explore Oliver's bold initiatives to redefine success, not just in business, but in life. Oliver Grant didn't need flashy announcements or grand gestures to make his mark. His quiet strength was more than enough. The day he officially signed the papers to become the owner of the dealership, he didn't hold a press conference or revel in the spectacle. Instead, he sat in the owner's office, now his office, and thought deeply about the path ahead. His first order of business was clear: address the toxic culture that had taken root within the company. Judgment, arrogance, and a lack of empathy had created a space where customers were treated based on their appearances, and employees prioritized commissions over connections. This wasn't just bad for business, it was bad for the soul. Oliver summoned the entire staff for a meeting. They filed into the pristine showroom, their faces a mixture of confusion and apprehension. Brad stood near the back, his arms crossed and his expression skeptical. Emma, meanwhile, sat quietly near the front, her hands folded in her lap. When Oliver stepped to the front of the room, the murmurs died down. His presence demanded attention, not because he was imposing, but because there was something undeniable about his demeanor. "Good afternoon," he began, his voice steady and warm. "As you all know, I'm the new owner of this dealership. My name is Oliver Grant, but please, call me Oliver. Titles don't mean much to me. Actions do." A few employees exchanged uneasy glances. Oliver continued, unbothered by the tension. "I'm not here to lecture you or to dwell on the past. I'm here to build something better together. This dealership has the potential to be more than just a place where cars are sold. It can be a place where people feel valued, respected, and heard. But that starts with us." Brad raised his hand, his smirk barely concealed. "So what's the plan?" Mandatory group hugs. A ripple of laughter moved through the room, but Oliver didn't flinch. He locked eyes with Brad and smiled. "No, Brad, no group hugs unless that's your thing. But we will be implementing some changes. Changes that might be uncomfortable at first, but necessary for growth." Oliver's plan was bold. He announced the introduction of empathy and customer service training programs, designed to teach employees how to connect with customers on a human level. These weren't generic corporate sessions. They were immersive, with role-playing scenarios and discussions about real-world experiences. "Empathy isn't just a buzzword," Oliver explained. "It's the foundation of trust, and trust is what keeps businesses alive." Not everyone was thrilled with the changes. Brad, along with a few others, grumbled about the touchy-feely nonsense and resisted the shift. Oliver anticipated this. He offered severance packages to those unwilling to adapt to the new culture, making it clear that staying was a choice, not an obligation. "We're not just selling cars," Oliver reminded them. We're building relationships, and that takes heart. Emma, on the other hand, thrived under the new vision. As general manager, she quickly became Oliver's right hand, overseeing the implementation of new policies and setting an example for the rest of the team. She introduced initiatives like handwritten thank you, notes for customers, and a system for recognizing employees who went above and beyond. Under Oliver's leadership, the dealership began to transform. The sterile showroom started to feel more welcoming, with comfortable seating areas and complimentary coffee stations. Customers noticed the difference too. They were greeted with genuine smiles, and their concerns were met with patience and understanding. But Oliver's changes extended beyond the physical and procedural. He encouraged his employees to see their roles as more than just jobs. When you treat every interaction as an opportunity to make someone's day better, he said, you'll find that the rewards are far greater than any paycheck. One day, a young couple walked into the dealership, visibly nervous. They had just welcomed their first child and needed a reliable car, but were unsure if they could afford anything on the lot. Emma greeted them warmly and spent hours walking them through their options, never pressuring them to make a decision. When they finally drove off in a safe, affordable car, the husband turned to his wife and said, I didn't think places like this existed anymore. Moments like these became the norm under Oliver's leadership. Customers began leaving glowing reviews, not just about the vehicles, but about the people who had helped them. The dealership's reputation soared, and so did its profits. Brad, who had begrudgingly stayed on, started to notice the shift. He watched as customers left smiling and employees began to take pride in their work. Slowly, his skepticism gave way to curiosity. One afternoon, he approached Oliver in his office. Mr. Grant, he began, his usual bravado softened. I have to admit, I didn't think this approach would work, but it's hard to argue with the results. Oliver leaned back in his chair and smiled. It's never too late to change, Brad. The question is, are you willing? Brad nodded. I think I am. As the dealership continued to thrive, Oliver expanded his vision. He introduced community-focused initiatives, like scholarships for aspiring automotive technicians and workshops for local high school students interested in the industry. He even launched car confidence clinics, teaching new drivers how to handle basic maintenance and road safety. These programs didn't just benefit the community, they inspired the staff. Employees began volunteering their time for the clinics, finding joy in giving back. Emma, in particular, flourished. Her natural leadership skills and unwavering commitment to Oliver's vision made her a force to be reckoned with. She often stayed late, brainstorming new ways to improve the dealership and strengthen its ties to the community. One evening, as they locked up for the night, Oliver turned to Emma. You know, he said, you remind me of someone I knew long ago, someone who believed in the power of kindness, even when it wasn't easy. Emma smiled. That's the best compliment I've ever received. Oliver's journey from humble beginnings to dealership owner wasn't just a story of success. It was a testament to the transformative power of respect and compassion. His actions prove that true leadership isn't about authority, it's about inspiring others to be their best selves. Oliver's vision for the dealership was only the beginning. In the next chapter, we'll see how his innovative programs and leadership principles sparked a movement, inspiring businesses far beyond Chicago. Stay tuned to discover how one man's quiet strength became a force for global change. Oliver Grant believed that true transformation wasn't achieved through force, but through inspiration and leading by example. Owning the dealership gave him the authority to implement changes, but it was his steadfast belief in empathy and integrity that truly began to shift the tide. The first major initiative was the empathy training program. Oliver didn't want his employees to simply memorize a set of rules or follow a checklist. He wanted them to understand the human element of their work. The program began with simple exercises designed to help employees step into the shoes of their customers. One day, in the middle of a training session, Oliver addressed the group. Picture this, he said, pacing the room with his hands clasped behind his back. A single mother walks into this dealership. Her car has just broken down, and she doesn't have the means to buy a brand new vehicle. She's anxious, maybe even embarrassed. What does she see when she looks at us? What do we offer her? Besides a price tag. The room was silent as his words sank in. Then Emma spoke up. She needs someone to listen to her, to understand what she's going through. Exactly, Oliver said with a nod. And it's not just about selling her a car. It's about giving her peace of mind. That's what we're here to do. The sessions became a cornerstone of the dealership's new culture. Employees who had once dismissed empathy as a soft skill began to see its impact firsthand. Brad, who had been one of the loudest skeptics, found himself rethinking his approach after a particularly enlightening exercise. In one session, participants were asked to share a story about a time when they felt overlooked or dismissed. As Brad recounted an experience from his childhood, his voice softened. I know what it's like to be underestimated, he admitted. Emma, who facilitated many of the sessions, later told Oliver, I think Brad's starting to get it. It's like he's realizing this isn't just about selling cars. It's about changing lives. While the training sessions were transformative, Oliver knew that actions spoke louder than words. He introduced a recognition and reward system to highlight employees who embodied the dealership's values. Every month, an employee was celebrated for their outstanding contributions. Whether it was resolving a customer's issue with patience and care or going out of their way to assist a coworker, these recognitions weren't just plaques or certificates. They were tangible rewards that showed employees their efforts were valued. One month, Emma nominated a service technician named Marcus Shaw. Marcus had spent hours after his shift fixing a family's car when he learned. They were planning a road trip the next day. When you treat people with kindness, Marcus said during the recognition ceremony, you're not just helping them, you're helping yourself. It feels good to do the right thing. The dealership's newfound culture began to ripple outward. Customers noticed the change, describing their experiences in glowing reviews. Word spread, and soon the dealership became known not just for its cars, but for its exceptional service. Oliver's commitment to transformation wasn't limited to his employees. He believed in giving back to the community that had supported him throughout his journey. He partnered with local organizations to create scholarships for aspiring automotive technicians, ensuring that the next generation had access to opportunities he'd once struggled to find. One of his most innovative ideas was the introduction of community workshops. These free sessions covered topics like car maintenance, financial planning for vehicle purchases, and even confidence-building exercises for young drivers. The workshops weren't just about cars, they were about empowerment. During one workshop, a young woman named Jasmine hesitated before raising her hand. Mr. Grant, she said, I've always been scared of driving, but this workshop, it's helped me feel like I can actually do it. Oliver smiled. Fear is just a sign that you're about to grow. Jasmine, keep going, you're stronger than you think. These workshops became a cornerstone of the dealership's community engagement efforts. They didn't just build trust with customers, they fostered a sense of belonging. But change wasn't without its challenges. Not everyone was on board with Oliver's vision. A handful of employees resisted, viewing the new culture as unnecessary or idealistic. One salesperson even confronted Oliver directly. With all due respect, Mr. Grant, the man said, we're here to sell cars, not run a charity. Oliver's response was calm but firm. We're here to build relationships, he said. The cars are secondary. If you can't see that, then maybe this isn't the right place for you. Over time, the resistance faded as employees witnessed the tangible results of the new approach. Sales increased, customer retention rates soared, and the dealership's reputation reached new heights. Emma, now firmly established as the general manager, often reflected on the journey. It's amazing to see how far we've come, she told Oliver one evening. But I think the most rewarding part is knowing we're making a difference, not just in people's lives, but in how businesses can operate. Oliver nodded, his eyes twinkling with pride. This was never just about cars, Emma. It's about showing people that kindness and integrity aren't weaknesses, they're strengths. And they're contagious. As the dealership continued to thrive, Oliver began to think about the bigger picture. What if their model could inspire other businesses? What if respect, empathy, and inclusion became the norm rather than the exception? He started jotting down notes for a book, tentatively titled Quiet Strength. In it, he planned to share his leadership principles, hoping to inspire others to see the power of value-based leadership. As Oliver's vision for the dealership became a reality, his influence began to spread far beyond its walls. In the next chapter, we'll explore how his leadership inspired a movement that reached businesses across the nation and left a legacy of respect and inclusion. Stay tuned to discover the enduring impact of Oliver Grant's quiet strength. Oliver Grant's vision had always extended far beyond the polished floors of the dealership. He wanted his business to be a force for good, not just a place where transactions happened. To achieve this, he began rolling out initiatives that not only transformed the dealership, but also elevated the surrounding community. The first major program, called Car Confidence Clinics, was a groundbreaking concept. These workshops were designed to empower customers with knowledge about their vehicles, basic maintenance, understanding warranties, and even negotiating repair costs. On the first day of the clinic, a diverse group of attendees filled the dealership's spacious garage. Young drivers eager to learn the basics, single parents seeking practical advice, and even older adults wanting to reconnect with the mechanical world came together. Oliver, wearing a denim apron and holding a wrench, opened the session with his signature humility. "When I was younger," he began, "I didn't even know how to change a tire. A stranger on the road taught me, and I never forgot that kindness. Today, we're here to pass on that knowledge, to make sure you leave here more confident than when you arrived." Emma led the hands-on demonstrations, showing participants how to check their oil and replace a flat tire. Marcus, the ever-reliable service technician, taught them about the importance of routine maintenance and how to spot early signs of trouble. The atmosphere was lively, filled with laughter and genuine moments of connection. One elderly attendee, Mr. Collins, approached Oliver at the end of the session. "You know," he said, his voice tinged with emotion, "I never thought I'd feel comfortable in a place like this. Thank you for making us feel welcome." These clinics became a monthly tradition, drawing participants from across Chicago. They weren't just about cars. They were about empowerment and bridging gaps between people from all walks of life. Another cornerstone of Oliver's community initiatives was the transparent pricing system. The dealership eliminated haggling, opting instead for fixed, fair prices on all vehicles. This approach, while unconventional in the car sales industry, was met with overwhelming support from customers. "We believe in honesty," Oliver explained during a local news interview. "When people walk into this dealership, they shouldn't have to wonder if they're being treated fairly. Transparency builds trust, and trust builds loyalty." The system's success was undeniable. Sales increased, but more importantly, customers felt respected and valued. Many returned, not just for additional purchases, but to share their positive experiences with friends and family. Recognizing the potential to inspire other businesses, Oliver partnered with a local university to establish the Grant Scholarship for Ethical Leadership. This fund supported students pursuing careers in business, with a focus on ethics and community engagement. One of the scholarship's first recipients, a young woman named Alina Morales, wrote to Oliver after her graduation. "Mr. Grant," she said, "your belief in the power of kindness has shaped my journey. I'm starting my own business now, and I promise to carry your values with me." Oliver's heart swelled with pride as he read her letter. It was proof that his vision was taking root beyond the walls of the dealership. Meanwhile, Emma continued to shine in her role as general manager. She spearheaded a partnership with a local high school to create the Automotive Futures program, which offered internships and hands-on training for students interested in the automotive industry. During the program's inaugural year, Emma invited a group of students to tour the dealership. She spoke to them about her own journey, from her humble beginnings to her current role. "Never underestimate the power of doing the right thing," she told them. "Kindness and integrity will take you further than you can imagine." One of the students, a shy teenager named Isaiah, approached Emma after her speech. "I've always loved cars," he said quietly, "but I didn't think I'd ever have a chance to work with them. Thank you for giving us this opportunity." Isaiah's words stayed with Emma, serving as a reminder of why they did what they did. It wasn't just about selling cars or hitting targets. It was about creating opportunities and changing lives. As the dealership's reputation grew, it began to attract attention from local and national media. Stories about Oliver's leadership and the dealership's transformation were featured in newspapers, blogs, and even a documentary. Neighboring businesses took notice, with many adopting similar practices inspired by Oliver's success. One day, as Oliver walked through the showroom, he overheard a customer talking to Emma. "You know," the customer said, "this place feels different. It's not like other dealerships, it feels like family." Emma beamed with pride. "That's the Oliver Grant way," she replied. As the dealership continued to thrive, Oliver remained focused on the bigger picture. He began hosting workshops for local business owners, sharing his insights on ethical leadership and the importance of community engagement. These sessions, titled The Heart of Business, drew attendees from across the region. During one workshop, a small business owner named Karen approached Oliver. "Your story has changed how I see my own business," she said. "It's not just about profit, it's about people." Oliver smiled. "When you lead with your heart, Karen, the rest will follow." The dealership became a model of inclusion and excellence, not just for the automotive industry, but for businesses everywhere. Oliver's initiatives proved that kindness and respect weren't just idealistic notions, they were practical strategies for success. Oliver's dealership was no longer just a business, it was a movement. But what happens when a small idea grows beyond its creator? In the next chapter, we'll explore how Oliver's leadership inspired a wave of change that reached far beyond Chicago, leaving a legacy that continues to thrive. Stay tuned to uncover the ripple effect of one man's unwavering belief in the power of respect. Oliver Grant's dealership had become more than a thriving business. It was a symbol of change. The initiatives he introduced sparked a wave of admiration, both locally and nationally. The story of how one man turned a judgmental culture into a model of respect captured the imagination of countless individuals. It was a reminder that even in a competitive industry, values like empathy and integrity could lead to profound success. Media outlets began to feature the dealership in headlines, "From mockery to model. How one man transformed the auto industry," was the tagline of a prominent Chicago newspaper. Oliver, however, wasn't interested in personal fame. When a journalist asked him how he felt about the attention, he simply said, "This isn't about me. It's about the message. If even one other business adopts these principles, then we've made a difference." The dealership's impact didn't stop at the boundaries of Chicago. Neighboring businesses started to take notice. A local restaurant owner approached Oliver with an unusual request. "Your story inspired me," she said. "I want to create a similar culture in my restaurant where everyone feels valued, from the dishwasher to the customer. Can you help me?" Oliver agreed, offering insights and practical advice. He shared the importance of listening, of creating an environment where people could thrive without fear of judgment. Slowly but surely, the principles he'd implemented in his dealership began to ripple outward. One of the most notable adopters of Oliver's approach was a regional chain of hardware stores. Its CEO, Martin Hayes, reached out after reading about Oliver's story. "Your dealership's transformation is remarkable," Martin said. "We've struggled with employee turnover and customer satisfaction. Can you share your blueprint?" Oliver invited Martin to visit the dealership. As they toured the showroom, Oliver explained the importance of leading with values. "It starts with how you treat your team," he said. "If your employees feel respected, that respect will flow to your customers." Inspired by what he saw, Martin implemented similar changes in his stores. Within a year, the chain experienced a dramatic increase in employee retention and customer loyalty. Martin publicly credited Oliver for the transformation, further cementing his reputation as a visionary leader. Meanwhile, Oliver continued to expand his own efforts. He launched a mentorship program at the dealership, pairing experienced employees with newcomers. The goal was to create a culture of learning and support, where every individual felt valued. Emma played a key role in the program's success. Her natural ability to connect with people made her an ideal mentor. She often reminded her mentees of Oliver's guiding principle: every interaction is an opportunity to leave a positive mark. As the dealership grew, so did its influence. Oliver began receiving invitations to speak at conferences and events. At one such event, he delivered a keynote address titled Quiet Strength: The Power of Values in Business. Standing on the stage, Oliver spoke with humility and conviction. "Success isn't measured by the numbers on a balance sheet," he told the audience. "It's measured by the lives you touch, the relationships you build, and the legacy you leave behind." The speech was met with a standing ovation. Attendees left inspired, eager to implement Oliver's teachings in their own lives and businesses. With the dealership thriving under Emma's leadership, Oliver turned his attention to writing. His book, Quiet Strength: Leading with Heart in a Competitive World, became a bestseller. The chapters were filled with personal anecdotes, practical advice, and reflections on the lessons he'd learned throughout his journey. The book resonated deeply with readers, from seasoned executives to aspiring entrepreneurs. It wasn't just a guide to running a business. It was a manifesto for living a meaningful life. Oliver's story also caught the attention of philanthropic organizations. One such group, the Ethical Leadership Foundation, approached him with a proposal to create a fund in his name. The Grant Fund for Ethical Leadership was born, providing resources and support for entrepreneurs committed to values-driven business practices. Under Emma's continued guidance, the dealership reached new heights. It became a training ground for future leaders, many of whom went on to start their own businesses. Marcus Shaw, the service technician who had become a community favorite, launched a mobile car repair service with Oliver's encouragement. "I never would have taken this step without Oliver's belief in me," Marcus said at the dealership's 10th anniversary celebration. "He taught me that leadership isn't about control, it's about empowering others." As the dealership celebrated 2 decades of transformation, it became clear that Oliver's influence extended far beyond its walls. A permanent tribute was unveiled in his honor, a plaque in the showroom that read, "In memory of Oliver Grant, whose quiet strength changed lives and inspired a movement." Though Oliver Grant is no longer with us, his legacy continues to thrive. In the final chapter, we'll explore how his philosophy of respect and integrity shaped a global movement, proving that one person's vision can indeed change the world. Don't miss the inspiring conclusion to this extraordinary journey. As the years passed, Oliver Grant's legacy transformed from a single dealership success story into a guiding principle for businesses and communities worldwide. What began as a mission to reform one toxic culture evolved into a global movement that championed respect, inclusion, and the quiet power of ethical leadership. Oliver's story resonated because it was human, relatable, and deeply inspiring. It wasn't just about rising above judgment. It was about using that experience to spark change. His influence was built not on grandiose proclamations, but on a genuine commitment to creating environments where people felt seen, valued, and empowered. After Oliver's passing, Emma Caldwell, the steadfast general manager turned CEO, became the torchbearer of his vision. Emma was determined to ensure that Oliver's ideals didn't fade into memory, but became a living, breathing philosophy. She saw his legacy not as an endpoint, but as a starting line, a call to action for businesses, leaders, and communities to embrace compassion and integrity. One of Emma's first initiatives was to establish the Oliver Grant Leadership Academy, a training institute dedicated to cultivating future leaders rooted in the principles of empathy and ethical decision-making. The academy offered scholarships for young professionals from underprivileged backgrounds, ensuring that the opportunity to learn and grow wasn't confined to the privileged few. The academy quickly became a beacon for aspiring leaders. Its curriculum combined traditional business education with lessons in emotional intelligence, conflict resolution, and community engagement. Emma often invited guest lecturers, including Marcus Shaw, who had become a well-known figure in the automotive industry with his mobile repair business. During one of his lectures, Marcus shared a poignant moment with the students. "Oliver didn't just teach us how to run a business, he taught us how to be better human beings. He showed me that leadership isn't about standing above others, it's about lifting them up." The Academy's graduates went on to make a significant impact in their respective fields. One notable alumna, Priya Desai, became the CEO of a multinational tech company and implemented workplace policies inspired by Oliver's philosophy. In a world driven by innovation, Priya said in an interview, "It's easy to forget the human element." Oliver Grant's teachings remind us that people are the heart of progress. Beyond the academy, the dealership continued to serve as a model of excellence. Emma introduced an annual tradition called Grant Day, a community-wide celebration of Oliver's legacy. On this day, the dealership hosted free workshops, charity drives, and open forums where community members could share ideas and stories. Grant Day became more than a dealership event. It became a cherished community tradition. Families looked forward to the free car maintenance clinics. Children participated in STEM workshops hosted by Marcus, and aspiring entrepreneurs attended panel discussions led by Emma and other successful business leaders. But Emma wasn't content with simply maintaining the status quo. She wanted to expand Oliver's reach even further, partnering with the Ethical Leadership Foundation. She spearheaded the creation of the Global Oliver Grant Fund, a multi-million-dollar initiative aimed at fostering ethical practices in businesses worldwide. The fund supported projects ranging from sustainable farming cooperatives in South America to tech startups in Southeast Asia, focused on accessibility and inclusion. Each recipient was chosen not just for their potential profitability, but for their commitment to making a positive social impact. Emma also worked tirelessly to keep Oliver's personal story alive. She collaborated with filmmakers to produce a documentary titled The Quiet Revolution, The Life and Legacy of Oliver Grant. The film chronicled his journey from humble beginnings to becoming a beacon of ethical leadership, featuring interviews with Emma, Marcus, and others whose lives he had touched. The documentary became an instant success, earning critical acclaim and inspiring audiences around the world. One particularly emotional scene in the film featured Emma standing before the bronze statue of Oliver that now graced the dealership's entrance. With tears in her eyes, she said, "This statue isn't just a tribute to Oliver, it's a reminder to all of us to carry his values forward. Every time I pass by it, I ask myself, what would Oliver do?" As Oliver's story spread, businesses around the globe began adopting his principles. His book, Quiet Strength, became required reading in business schools and leadership programs. Even multinational corporations took notice, with CEOs citing Oliver's philosophy as a guiding light in their decision-making. At the dealership, a visitor registry was placed near Oliver's statue. People from all over the world came to pay their respects, leaving messages like, "Thank you for reminding us of what truly matters, and your legacy lives on in every act of kindness." Emma's final major project before retiring was to establish the Oliver Grant Fellowship, a program that brought together thought leaders, entrepreneurs, and changemakers from around the world to collaborate on initiatives aimed at addressing pressing global challenges. The fellowship's inaugural class included individuals from diverse backgrounds, united by their commitment to Oliver's ideals. As Emma prepared to step down, she reflected on her journey. "Oliver Grant wasn't just my mentor," she said in her farewell speech. "He was a guiding star, a constant reminder that even in the face of doubt and adversity, kindness and integrity will always prevail." The dealership continued to thrive under new leadership, remaining a hub for innovation and community engagement. But its true legacy lay in the countless lives it had touched and the ripple effects of Oliver's quiet revolution. Oliver Grant's story was no longer just about one man's journey. It was a testament to the enduring power of respect, humility, and compassion. His legacy proved that even the smallest acts of kindness could create waves of change, inspiring a world that was brighter, fairer, and more connected. Oliver Grant's legacy lives on in every act of kindness and every choice made with integrity. But how do the people he inspired continue to shape the world? In the next chapter, we'll explore how Emma, Marcus, and others carry Oliver's vision forward, creating a brighter future for generations to come. Stay tuned to discover the enduring ripple effect of his remarkable journey. Oliver Grant's philosophy didn't just touch the lives of those who worked with him or passed through his dealership. It transcended industries, borders, and even generations, evolving into a living testament to the power of compassion and integrity. But what made Oliver's legacy truly enduring wasn't just his story, it was how others chose to carry his vision forward. Emma Caldwell, Marcus Shaw, and a growing network of inspired individuals became the architects of this next chapter. Together, they created the Respect in Business Initiative, an ambitious program that sought to reimagine workplace cultures across industries. This wasn't about imposing a rigid framework. It was about fostering environments where empathy, inclusion, and mutual respect became cornerstones. The initiative began modestly, with workshops and seminars for small businesses in Chicago. Emma and Marcus led many of these sessions, sharing their personal stories and practical strategies for implementing Oliver's principles. They encouraged leaders to view their workplaces not as hierarchies, but as ecosystems where every individual played a vital role. Imagine a world, Emma said during one seminar, where every employee feels valued, every customer feels heard, and every decision is guided by integrity. That's the world Oliver believed in, and it's a world we can create together. The response was overwhelming. Small businesses reported increased employee morale and customer satisfaction after adopting the initiative's guidelines. Local newspapers began featuring success stories, from a bakery that transformed its team, dynamics to a tech startup that incorporated empathy training into its onboarding process. But Emma and Marcus had bigger aspirations. They partnered with international organizations to take the Respect in Business Initiative global. Their first major project was in South Africa, where they collaborated with a network of community-driven enterprises to develop leadership programs for aspiring entrepreneurs. One participant, a young woman named Zanelle, shared how the program changed her perspective. "I used to think leadership was about being the strongest voice in the room," she said. "Now I know it's about listening, understanding, and uplifting others." That's what Oliver Grant's story taught me. Back in the United States, the dealership continued to thrive as a hub of innovation and community engagement. Under the leadership of a new CEO, a former mentee of Emma's, the dealership expanded its community outreach programs. They launched a mobile education unit that brought free workshops on financial literacy, vehicle maintenance, and leadership skills to underserved neighborhoods. These efforts didn't just help individuals, they strengthened entire communities. Families gained tools to manage their finances, young adults discovered career opportunities, and local leaders found inspiration to drive change in their own ways. One of the most profound impacts of Oliver's legacy was seen in education. The Oliver Grant Fellowship, established during Emma's tenure, became a transformative program for young leaders worldwide. Each year, fellows were selected from a pool of thousands of applicants, representing diverse fields such as healthcare, technology, and environmental sustainability. The fellowship's emphasis on ethical leadership and community-driven solutions produced remarkable results. One fellow, a software engineer from India named Arjun, developed an app that connected isolated rural farmers with fair trade markets, ensuring they received equitable prices for their crops. Oliver Grant's philosophy reminded me that technology isn't just about progress, it's about people. Arjun said during the fellowship's annual summit. The summit itself became a focal point for the global movement Oliver had inspired. Held every year in Chicago, it brought together fellows, business leaders, and community organizers to share ideas, celebrate successes, and collaborate on new initiatives. The event's highlight was always the keynote address, delivered in front of a life-sized mural of Oliver, surrounded by images of the people whose lives he had transformed. As the years passed, the ripple effects of Oliver's legacy continued to grow. Businesses that embraced his principles became models for others, creating a domino effect of change. Governments and nonprofits began to take notice, incorporating empathy and ethics into their leadership training programs. But perhaps the most touching aspect of Oliver's enduring impact was the personal stories that continued to emerge. Letters arrived at the dealership from people who had been inspired by his book, Quiet Strength, or by the documentary about his life. One letter came from a teacher in Brazil who had started a program to teach empathy to her students. "Your story showed me that even small acts of kindness can change the world," she wrote. Another came from a father in Japan who had used Oliver's teachings to rebuild his relationship with his estranged son. "Thank you for reminding me that respect begins at home," he wrote. Even in his absence, Oliver's presence was felt in the lives of countless individuals. His story had become a source of hope, a reminder that change was possible even in the face of doubt and adversity. As Emma and Marcus reflected on the movement they had helped build, they often returned to Oliver's core belief that respect and compassion weren't just ideals, they were actions. "Oliver always said that leadership starts with one person," Marcus said during a panel discussion. "But the beauty of his legacy is that it's no longer just one person, it's all of us." At the 30th anniversary of the dealership's transformation, a special tribute was held in Oliver's honor. Community members, business leaders, and former employees gathered to celebrate his life and legacy. Emma, now retired but still deeply involved in the movement, gave a heartfelt speech. "Oliver Grant taught us that the world doesn't change through grand gestures. It changes through everyday acts of kindness and integrity. And it's up to us to keep that change alive." The evening ended with the unveiling of a new addition to the dealership, a digital wall of stories, where visitors could share how Oliver's legacy had impacted their lives. The wall became a living archive, a testament to the far-reaching effects of one man's quiet revolution. Oliver's legacy has sparked a global movement, but the question remains, how do the people he inspired continue to innovate and lead with his values? In the next chapter, we'll delve into the initiatives shaping the future and the ways Oliver's teachings are ensuring that respect and integrity endure for generations to come. Oliver Grant's vision had set a ripple effect into motion, one that stretched beyond industries and continents, touching the core of human interaction. His story became a blueprint for transformation, not just in businesses but in communities, education, and even personal relationships. What started as a revolution in a single car dealership had blossomed into a global ethos, way of living and leading that prioritized respect, compassion, and integrity above all else. By the time the Respect in Business initiative entered its 10th year, its reach was staggering. Over 5,000 businesses worldwide had adopted its principles, creating workplaces that thrived on collaboration and mutual respect. But the movement wasn't content to rest on its laurels. Under Emma Caldwell's guidance, the initiative began to explore new frontiers, using technology and innovation to deepen its impact. One groundbreaking project was the empathy algorithm, a digital tool designed to help companies assess and improve their workplace cultures. Developed in partnership with a team of behavioral scientists and technologists, the algorithm analyzed employee feedback, customer reviews, and leadership practices to provide actionable insights. "Technology can't replace human connection," Emma explained at a tech summit in San Francisco, "but it can illuminate the areas where connection is lacking and help us bridge those gaps." The algorithm quickly became a game changer. A logistics company in Germany used it to identify and address communication barriers between its headquarters and field teams, resulting in a dramatic improvement in employee satisfaction and efficiency. A healthcare provider in Canada used it to redesign its patient care model, focusing on empathy-driven service delivery. While technology played a crucial role, the heart of the movement remained human stories of transformation sparked by Oliver's teachings. At a global Respect in Business conference, attendees shared how adopting Oliver's principles had changed their lives. One attendee, Sophia, recounted her journey as the CEO of a struggling nonprofit in Mexico. "Our organization was on the brink of collapse," she said. "Then I came across Oliver's story. It reminded me to focus not on what we lacked, but on the people we served and the relationships we built. Today, we're thriving." The conference also highlighted the work of the Global Oliver Grant Fund, which continued to support ethical entrepreneurs worldwide. Among its success stories was a sustainable energy startup in Kenya that provided affordable solar power to remote villages, improving the quality of life for thousands. "Our mission aligns perfectly with Oliver's vision," said the startup's founder. Ayo, It's about more than just business. It's about creating a future where everyone can thrive. At the same time, the Oliver Grant Leadership Academy expanded its reach, launching satellite campuses in Asia, Africa, and South America. Each campus tailored its programs to address local challenges while staying true to Oliver's universal principles. One graduate, Mei Lin, who founded a network of eco-friendly textile factories in China, shared her experience. The academy didn't just teach me how to lead, it taught me why leadership matters. It's about lifting others, not just achieving goals. The academy also introduced a groundbreaking initiative called Leadership Across Generations, which paired older, experienced leaders with young innovators. The program fostered mutual learning, blending wisdom with fresh perspectives to tackle complex global issues. Back at the dealership, the community-focused programs continued to evolve. One of the most celebrated initiatives was the Grant Youth Leadership Program, which provided mentorship and career development opportunities for at-risk teens. The program's success was measured not just in numbers, but in stories, like that of Jamal, a young man who had once faced a future of uncertainty. "Before the program, I didn't think I had a place in the world," Jamal said at a Grant Day celebration. "Now I'm studying engineering and mentoring others like me." Oliver Grant's story gave me hope, and this program gave me a path. As the dealership celebrated its 30th anniversary, it unveiled its most ambitious project yet, the Grant Global Summit, a biennial event bringing together leaders, change-makers, and visionaries to tackle pressing global challenges. The summit's inaugural theme, Respect in Action, focused on addressing issues like climate change, social inequality, and technological ethics. Panels featured a mix of thought leaders, including Emma Caldwell, Marcus Shaw, and graduates of the Oliver Grant Leadership Academy. During her keynote speech, Emma reflected on the journey. Oliver believed in the power of small acts to create big change. This summit is proof that his vision is alive and well, carried forward by all of you. The event was a resounding success, generating actionable solutions and fostering collaborations that extended far beyond the summit's walls. Meanwhile, the documentary The Quiet Revolution continued to reach new audiences, inspiring individuals from all walks of life. Schools incorporated it into their curricula, sparking discussions about ethics, respect, and the importance of kindness. At a screening in Japan, a teacher shared how the film had impacted her students. "They wrote essays about how they could bring Oliver's principles into their lives," she said. One student even started a campaign to combat bullying at school, inspired by his story. Oliver's legacy also found its way into unexpected places. A grassroots movement in Brazil used his teachings to advocate for fair labor practices, while a coalition of artists in Europe created a traveling exhibition titled The Heart of Leadership, featuring works inspired by Oliver's journey. But perhaps the most poignant symbol of his enduring impact was a simple plaque at the dealership, inscribed with his favorite quote, "Respect is the foundation of all success. Build it, nurture it, and it will endure." Visitors often stopped to read the inscription, some leaving flowers, notes, or tokens of gratitude. One note captured the essence of Oliver's legacy. "Thank you for showing us that kindness isn't weakness, it's strength." The ripple effects of Oliver's life continued to grow, touching hearts and shaping futures. His vision had become a global movement, but its essence remained deeply personal. The belief that respect, integrity, and compassion could change the world one person, one interaction, one act of kindness at a time. Oliver Grant's story proves that one person's vision can inspire generations. But how do we ensure this legacy continues to evolve with the challenges of a changing world? In the next chapter, we'll explore the innovative strategies shaping the future of ethical leadership and the next generation of changemakers carrying Oliver's torch. Stay tuned for the inspiring conclusion to this remarkable journey. By the time Oliver Grant's legacy reached its third decade, the seeds he had planted had grown into a thriving forest of initiatives, businesses, and movements dedicated to respect, inclusion, and ethical leadership. But as the world evolved, so did the challenges facing those carrying his torch. Climate change, technological disruption, and widening social divides presented new tests for the principles Oliver had championed. The responsibility of adapting these timeless values to an ever-changing world fell to the next generation of changemakers. These were individuals inspired not just by Oliver's story, but by the tangible impact of the programs, initiatives, and communities he had left behind. At the forefront of this movement was the Oliver Grant Fellowship, which had expanded its mission to include interdisciplinary collaboration. Fellows from diverse fields, science, art, technology, and education, were brought together to tackle global challenges using Oliver's principles as their foundation. One notable project emerged from the fellowship's 15th cohort, a groundbreaking initiative called Global Bridges, aimed at connecting rural communities with digital resources, spearheaded by Aki Tanaka, a tech entrepreneur from Japan, and Leela Hassan, a social activist from Kenya. The project provided solar-powered hubs that offered free internet access and digital literacy programs. "We weren't just inspired by Oliver's values," Aki said during a presentation at the Grant Global Summit. "We built global bridges to embody them, creating opportunities for people who might otherwise be left behind." The initiative transformed countless lives, enabling farmers to access real-time market data, students to attend virtual classes, and small businesses to expand their reach. Layla shared the story of Fatima, a young girl in Kenya who used one of the hubs to learn coding. "Fatima went on to win a national tech competition," Layla said proudly. "Her success is a testament to what's possible when we invest in people." Meanwhile, Emma Caldwell continued to serve as a mentor and advisor to emerging leaders. Though she had stepped back from day-to-day operations at the dealership, her influence remained strong. She frequently spoke at universities and global conferences, reminding audiences of the enduring relevance of Oliver's principles. "Oliver believed in empowering others," Emma said during a lecture at Harvard Business School. "He didn't want to be the sole voice of change. He wanted to create an orchestra of voices, each playing its part in making the world better." One of Emma's mentees, Carlos Rivera, embodied this philosophy. A former intern at the dealership, Carlos had risen through the ranks to become the CEO of a tech startup focused on AI-driven solutions for healthcare accessibility. Under his leadership, the company partnered with nonprofits to deliver affordable diagnostic tools to underserved regions. "Every decision I make," Carlos said during an interview, "I ask myself, would this align with Oliver's vision? If the answer is no, I know it's not the right path." At the same time, the Respect in Business initiative continued to innovate. Recognizing the challenges posed by rapid technological advancement, the initiative launched a new program called Ethics in Tech, designed to help companies navigate the ethical implications of AI, data privacy, and automation. The program's debut workshop in Silicon Valley drew attendees from leading tech giants, eager to learn how to balance innovation with responsibility. The keynote speaker, a former Oliver Grant Leadership Academy graduate named Rachel Wu, emphasized the importance of empathy in the digital age. "Technology is a tool," Rachel said, "but without empathy, it's just a tool." Oliver's teachings remind us to ask, how are we using this tool to uplift others? Back at the dealership, a new generation of leaders had taken the reins. Among them was Jamal, the former participant of the Grant Youth Leadership Program, who had once doubted his place in the world. Now a confident young man, Jamal served as the dealership's community outreach director, overseeing programs that provided mentorship and skill-building opportunities to underserved youth. "The Grant Youth Leadership Program changed my life," Jamal said during a Grant Day celebration. "Now I get to help others the way I was helped. It's an honor to continue Oliver's legacy." One of Jamal's most impactful initiatives was a partnership with local schools to create after-school programs focused on leadership, financial literacy, and civic engagement. These programs didn't just teach skills, they instilled values. In one session, a student named Maya shared her dream of becoming a lawyer. "I want to help people who don't have a voice," she said. Jamal smiled, recognizing the echoes of Oliver's spirit in her words. "Then you're already on the right path," he said. As the movement inspired by Oliver's legacy continued to grow, It became clear that it wasn't just about honoring his memory. It was about building a future that reflected his values. At the 35th anniversary of the dealership's transformation, Emma and Marcus joined a panel of new leaders to discuss the future of ethical leadership. The event, held at the Oliver Grant Leadership Academy's flagship campus, attracted attendees from around the world. During her closing remarks, Emma reflected on the journey. Oliver's story started with one man, one dealership, and one act of respect. But look at what it's become. Each of you here is proof that his vision didn't end with him. It lives on in every choice we make to lead with kindness, to stand up for integrity, and to create a better world. As the panel concluded, attendees stood for a moment of silence, reflecting on the impact of Oliver's life. The room was filled not just with respect for the man he had been, but with hope for the future his vision had inspired. Oliver Grant's legacy has grown into a worldwide movement. But how do we ensure it continues to adapt and thrive in a rapidly changing world? Join us for the conclusion, where we'll explore the final reflections on his journey and the lasting lessons his story offers to us all. Oliver Grant's story reminds us that kindness, integrity, and respect have the power to transform not just businesses, but lives. His journey proves that even the smallest acts of compassion can create ripples of change that echo across the world. If this story inspired you, take a moment to subscribe to our channel and become part of our community of dreamers, doers, and believers in a brighter future. Hit the like button to help us share Oliver's legacy with others, and leave a comment below with your own affirmation, something like, "I lead with respect and inspire through compassion." Together, let's carry forward Oliver's vision and make the world a better place, one act of kindness at a time. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to explore our channel for more stories that uplift.